This year, the Oldest Profession podcast is producing the Old Pro Project to celebrate the anniversary of the first sex worker-led protest in the U.S. To learn more, listen to our episode, Why January 25th Matters. Follow the hashtag OldProProject and go to our website, theoldestprofessionpodcast.com/OPP for Old Pro Project.
Welcome to the Peep Show podcast.
News and stories from the sex industry.
With Jessie and PJ Sage. Welcome back to another episode of the Peep Show podcast. This is a special After Dark episode where Courtney Treble and I talk to Seska about aging in the sex industry, her multi-decade career, the differences she felt between porn and escorting, why we all love threesomes, and more. Is there enough kink and flirtation in your life right now? Aorta Films creates lusty, opulent, glorious fuckery. Their films are full of beautifully shot, super hot queer porn featuring a large range of bodies, identities, kinks, and dynamics. This month, check out Aorta's newest release, Pink Lemonade, featuring Daemonum X and Scarlet. Good dollies should be seen and not heard. So why does Scarlet go looking for trouble during a service session with Daddy Daemonum X? One misdeed calls for a spanking, and a second warrants reprogramming. Could this have been what Scarlet wanted all along? $9 a month on Patreon gets you full access to Aorta's library of 60-plus short and feature films, with a new film released on the first of each month. Or back them at the $17 a month level and get a download of that month's film delivered straight to your inbox. Check them out at aortafilms.com.
Hey, I'm Adrian, one of the hosts of After Adult Podcast. My porn name should be Mozart Fremont, but you probably know me better by my actual porn name, Siri.
I'm Rachel, but my porn name would be Woody 16th Avenue.
After Adult is a podcast about life and porn.
I don't actually watch porn.
I don't really watch that much porn either. I probably watch more than you, but I mean, most of the time it kind of would feel like going to work on my day off.
You 100% watch more than me, because I don't watch porn. Find us wherever you get your podcasts. Just search for After Adult.
Or visit afteradult.com and follow us on Instagram at afteradult.
Hi, welcome back to Peep Show Podcast. This is a After Dark.
After Dark.
After Dark episode, and we have Seska with us. So welcome, Seska.
Hello.
We are really happy to talk to you.
Seska is a super awesome porn star.
Tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so yes, Seska. It's funny, I talk about myself sometime in the third person because you write these bios and you write them in the third person and then you're like, who am I? So I'll try for the in the first person. So yeah, I go by the name Seska or Seska Lee, and I have been in the adult entertainment field, industry, profession since 1998.
Wow. How'd you get in it?
Swinging.
Oh, you know what? Me too. Not really, but kind of. That was the path.
It was an interesting time. The internet was just starting to do its thing, and still on dial-up and that kind of stuff. And so when you were trying to find your community, there were two places. You went in the back pages of your weekly city magazine to find out where the dirty things were happening. The naughty, whatever. And the other one was like you started going on these message boards on the internet and these like listings, because they weren't real proper websites yet. I mean, they were, but they're just like one page. Everyone had a porn page. You didn't have a porn site. You had a porn page.
Everybody had their own websites back then.
Yeah, it was just standard because there weren't any platforms for that. So what happened was I started looking at first into fetish communities and fetish nights and sort of those BDSM sort of dance parties that were going on. And I'm from Montreal, so it was happening there. And I discovered Carol Cox. So Carol Cox is one of the original amateurs online. There were 3 when she started, 3 women. internationally who had a porn site who were not from the porn scene. She
Wow.
was one of them. So the story goes, there was another one out of Australia, and she was very much like your girlfriend online, which is fascinating because that's what it is now.
Yeah.
So she was unusual then in that she offered this kind of online girlfriend experience, but must have been like, again, pictures just loading.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is exactly what I did when I started doing sex work online.
So
It's just like, okay, I'm going to send you 5 pictures.
and there you go.
There you go. It's going to take an hour.
So she got her start in the early 90s, so like around 93. I get my start around 97 is when I meet her. She has this bar meet where she's going to meet fans, Carol Cox that is. And so I'm like, we're going to go. So me and my partner at the time were like, let's go to this thing. And she had just gotten off her maternity leave. It's her first night out since she had her baby. So she gets drunk on like 4 drinks. Like wasted. And I'm drinking too. And they're just, we're just doing the sexy dancing thing. But we became friends because there was just this sort of swingery, flashing in public thing going on in that time of, and it was all being documented on the internet. And so then I was a teacher or an educational consultant at the time. So I was like an educator.
Okay.
Yeah. And my ex, my then husband, but now ex, he was
Right.
worked in the stats department. So we had like really boring jobs. I was heading towards burnout. He was just bored. And so we were like, do we do this? Do we start a website? I want to, throw my, like flash all over the place. I want to have, make it, do all these crazy sex things or crazy, by the point of reference then. And so then we said, let's do it. And within 3 months, we quit our jobs and we were doing very well for ourselves. Yeah. It became, it was mainly about me. He was not an exhibitionist, hated being on camera, only did things that were on the live cam, but he didn't do like the swinger shoots at the conventions. He took the pictures. It was great.
Yeah.
I would just, hook up with everybody, all the friends. So it was very swinger, but it wasn't. All the swingers I had sex with were other swingers with websites. Like we were just a group of people. There wasn't any no off-camera swinging. There was none of that. Like there was just, for me, there was no point because I was like, I need to use up all my sexual energy for this site. Anyway, so pros and cons. So we did till the crash of 2008. We were making money. It started going down by 2005 with, when it started, changing. But we did it till about, till our divorce, which was 2010. But in 2008, I started escorting. And so escorted a very different name and a different persona. And I did that till about 2017. It's one of those vague things,
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's split into two really big chunks of 10 years about.
Yeah. So what was the transition like into escorting after you had been doing this kind of porn swingery thing with your husband?
It was.
Yeah, I find this fascinating. I want to hear more.
It's so different.
I've had porn experiences that were a lot like full service sex work when I was like, oh, this is drastically different than a porn set.
Yeah, the issue was I had to really, there was a switch that I had to flip in my brain because, and I think about it a lot now that I've come back to porn in 2020. Porn for me I was an artist putting up a piece of art and you came into my museum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you didn't get to tell me what to paint. You just, if you wanted to come in, you came in. If you didn't come in. And it was, some people sat there forever. Some people, just came in and left. So I felt that's what my porn site was. And my porn career was about me trying things, oh, that's a fantasy. I want to live it out. Let's do it. Okay. Oh, you know what? I'm super bored. Let's do something weird because, we've had sex in every single, space in the house or something. So let's do it. Somewhere, there's a lot of, because
there's definitely some performative aspects to escorting, but not quite like in this frame.
No, and also it was just like it was my thing, and it was just like my sex life was being explored, or by like my sex brain, like what I thought was interesting. So then with escorting, well, I had started just in between, which wasn't really, I don't consider what I did was sex work, but it was sexually, charged, was the burlesque. And the burlesque started me doing things like doing sort of sexy performances out in public. And I did a few little like raunchy things that were more like, behind a shadow screen and putting a whole bunch of things up my vagina. And then turned out I offended a lot of the audience. They did not expect that, but I thought it was interesting. So I was doing a little bit of art house in my burlesque. So that sort of changed things. I started having a private sex life. So I started having sex off camera. I had a boyfriend as well as a husband, and I had a girlfriend. So we were like, I started being poly, but without really knowing the hell I was doing. Better for worse there. And so then I was like, okay, I can have sex off camera. What would it be like to escort? I had friends who were escorts because I was in the sex worker activism community in Montreal. So I was like, okay, do you think I can do it? They were like, you can do it. But I was used to having sex with other workers.
Yeah.
Even if we were from a lifestyle background, we were all like, it was just, there was so much negotiation, so much communication, it was nearly always actually sober as well, because we were just like in the middle of the afternoon doing the thing, and then like, hey, bye, I'm gonna go pick up my kids, blah blah blah. Escorting was going to be different, so I was going to be having sex with married men who were lying, and that was different because I know I had sex with some of the big gangbang parties and stuff like that we shot at, that there were men who were married who were lying, but I was able to I felt like, well, they're working too.
Yeah.
It was a professional, pro-am shoot. But I knew with escorting, it was a different thing. And I didn't know, I'm still not 100% comfortable, like to say, like it didn't, yeah. That being said, I do think it's their business, not mine.
Right.
I met up with a madam, and she a madam, with the fur coat in the, 5-star hotel. We met there to have tea. And she interviewed me for her agency. And then I had, I super lied about my age. I said it was 10 years younger, even though I was like 38. I said it was 28. She named me, which was really fun. And she really loved, because I'm more Francophone, she liked giving English names to the French girls, and then to the English girls, French names. And she also liked really masculine names. So I love how much she had going on, So I became Charlotte Sinclair, which was the English sounding name. Turns out there's a Charlotte Sinclair who's like the editor at Vogue, and she did not like that I took a lot of her traffic. You should have bought your domain name. So I stayed with that agency for maybe I stayed with them, and but quickly went independent in that. So sometimes I would get clients from them, but I went independent very quickly because I knew how to run a website, and I was pretty quick on figuring out how to screen. And in fact, I screened better than they did. I like for comfort level, and I was able to organize tours very quickly and figured that out. So that was all around 2008 until I left my then husband. And I liked it.
Yeah.
It was, I had a few bad experiences a little later on, but for the most part, I found it was kind of boring.
Underwhelming. You think with all the stigma that's out there, that when you actually take the dive and like accept money for dick, that it's going to be more exciting.
You sit there, you have a little bit of conversation. Sometimes you're like, we need to stop this conversation because I'm going to just put my head, in the oven. I remember one guy, it was just like all about his boat. And I'm like, I do not care about your boat. What happened was I didn't end up having sex with him because he was really seeing me because his buddy was seeing someone that night too. So he hired me, and then it was just about the boat for 90 minutes. And I was like, massage? But like, nope.
Maybe on my boat.
Yeah. I was like, so much about the boat.
Did you ever do any like fly me to you?
A little bit, not too much. I had one fun but sad experience. They flew me for their anniversary, a couple, and they were somewhere in Latin America. I cannot remember where because they didn't want
Wow,
to
so
do a whole bunch.
it was a long
They
a
brought me
big.
to Mexico,
Oh, wow.
and
Okay.
Wow.
I think they were connected people. And so they were
Oh.
very cautious about where they could go and do things. And I didn't want to go to the United States because I'm in Canada, and it's, they were just banning people from this, anyone who looked like
Yeah.
be an escort, everyone was
Right.
getting banned. So
That is
I
a
was
real.
like, I was like, I can't go to the States. Like but so they flew me to Mexico. They had to the wife in particular had to be wasted. And so it was his fantasy. And
Oh,
yes,
no.
and
Right.
it was more sad. It was just sad. And
Yeah.
This could be like a
um,
public service announcement moment to our dear listeners.
Yeah.
You should get
yeah,
consent from your partners, like hardcore consent from your partners when you go and do some sex work purchasing together.
I think it was rough. Yeah.
Because it's rough for the worker, and you're like, oh man, that relationship must have this dynamic going on all the time. How awkward. Thank God I'm only there for a minute. But like, these people have to deal with it every day.
No, I was just gonna say, I've had, like, clients who've asked me, like, "How do I get my wife to do X, Y, and Z?" And I'm like, "You
Mhm.
don't. You don't."
Mhm.
I'm
I
not
have
gonna
had
be
customers who
I'm not gonna be
want,
involved in this.
mhm. This past year, I got a request to be on cam while someone was masturbating so that their wife could catch them. I was like, absolutely not. No,
No.
never contact me again.
Now,
Yeah.
I don't find taboo that sexy because it's for me, they turn me on or they don't. And
I
then
know, I'm like that
I do
too.
have some versions. I do have some things that are like, no, I don't, no, no, no. Like, don't show me the thing with the frog.
Do you like costumes?
Um, I did with burlesque, and then I became like a super minimalist because I had to move, and I kept getting to a smaller and smaller studio space. So I don't own a lot anymore. So the costuming would have to be like I would do it, but it would be like, okay, what do I have to get rid of to make room for this in my life? So I
Yeah.
wish. I also think like the attention to detail for the costuming, I don't think I have it.
I don't have that either.
Same here. I did
I
a
really
costume.
don't.
I did a costume this year for Halloween, but it's because it's the pandemic year. It was like, what else am I going to do? Every other year, I'm like way too busy or broke or don't have enough space for costumes. So I get it.
Yeah.
I did
It's
one as
just,
well. Yeah.
what has your pandemic year been like? Because I feel like we've known each other since like the year 2000 or like 2001. I think we've known of
I
each
think so.
other.
Yeah.
And so we've both been in this industry for a long time, and you actually reached out to me about a year and a half ago saying, I'm going to put my stuff back up on the internet. What's it like these days? And so I'm just curious to hear about what your first years back has been like, and what your pandemic year has been like.
It's been surreal, I think.
Mm.
But like the two layers, like both of them happening. I'm happy. It's like, yeah, I have a sense of gratitude that it happened at the same time because there's been a great amount of community that I've been able to engage with as a lot of offline workers came online at the same time as me. So
Yeah.
yes, there's
Mhm.
been a lot, like the numbers have been such, but I've just been able to try different things and then fail and then, okay, like that's not working. That platform is, this one isn't. Um, I'm glad like people like Courtney are still doing it as well because it's a little lonely. There's a lot of us, but it's a bit lonely, right? So
Yeah.
Absolutely.
yeah, it's nice to hear other stories when you write an article about your look back article was really wonderful.
Mhm.
The 20
And
years.
it happened I was able to place myself and my own story within your story and kind of go, okay, this is
Ooh.
like, we're, it's part of a, it's different shades of a similar experience, even though it's like
Yeah.
Yeah.
countries and different ages and different markets, but it was still like, oh, we had to deal with 2257 at the same time, or
Yeah.
or just like I'm creating with my community, but I have to deal with the bigger porn world, be it like all the webmasters and the billing companies. And
Right.
so
Mhm.
I needed to figure out what was going on, because I had a little bit, it was more, I was coming from the outside. So I was like, okay, let's talk to someone who knows then and knows now.
Yeah. Did you can I go back for a second? Did you come back to porn because of the pandemic?
No.
Not at all. It was literally like 6 months before the pandemic hit. She was like, I think I would do really great, like on OnlyFans or Avian Stars. Look at these old pictures next to the pictures now. And like, I just thought this was great because there's like all this vintage pinup, right? And like porn,
yeah.
I think people are really excited and getting excited about porn from the 90s and porn from the 2000s. So like when Seska was like, I want to come back, I was just like, oh, this is amazing. And also like just to like be able to like bring her into the loop of like what things are like now with like social media platforms.
Yeah.
Well, I had a fantasy of kind of like, oh, it'd be interesting. So I'm turning 50 this year. I was like, oh, I would love this. So I didn't think there was a pandemic, but I was like, what if I flew to Courtney and she needed I could be in a porn. In a porn. That's what I was calling it. In a porn.
And I was like, oh my God, I get to be in a porn with the Seska.
And well, the idea was like, I would trust you to take care of my both. Like I have like really strong self-esteem, but I have vulnerabilities. And like, what is it like to put out this 50-year-old body that is so freaking different than my 27-year-old body?
Well, I would honor every inch of it.
Well, and that's why I was like, oh, that would be amazing, because I could do what I do best, which is have a good time, and you would find the angles.
And also, since we're like talking about age a little bit, like I'm 38 and like
I'm 42. Yeah.
Yeah. So I started doing phone sex and all this stuff when I was 18 years old, like 17, 16, let's be real. So, being a lifer, I definitely need to be really thinking about like continuing to work with people who are like in my age group and older than me, because, my entire mission has always been about representation, and like older queer people and older sex workers definitely like are very few and far between, but actually we're not. So let's represent that, and like definitely like working with people who, are in my age group, or even just like, the Gen Xers. I love the Gen Xers so much.
I think
you guys are wonderful. You two are both Gen Xers, because I am an elder millennial.
Oh, PJ calls himself an elder millennial too. But yeah, I'm a Gen Xer.
I'll have to talk to him about that. Yeah, I feel like you guys can relate to Reality Bites, where I can watch it and be like, oh, wow, they're cute.
Yeah. No, but I'm very firmly a Gen Xer.
Do we want to talk about what porn was like in the year 2002?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know actually, because I came in it so much later, so I want you guys to tell me.
I feel like I was having a very good time. So Montreal was kind of this amateur porn hub. There was a few of them. There's a Florida one, and there was a Kansas City one, which is okay, sure.
And I was in Olympia, Washington, and there was like 10 of us until I moved to San Francisco. It was a really small little crew, but we had it. And I also built my own website, and so did Seska. We were both building our own websites. And back in the day, instead of doing shout outs for shout outs, you linked each other. You did link backs.
Yeah, it's called a friends page.
Friends page.
And your thumbnails were like like verticals, right? They weren't squares. They were these
little thumbnails.
And you would place by hand, you would decide who would go where based on the traffic exchange. Some of it was like verbal, like you were going, I'm going to put you at the top, you put me at the top, and okay, yeah. And then others, like then later you'd get automated systems that move people around based on the traffic exchanged.
Mm-hmm.
And there was something called like a
good
web
traffic.
circle. You could get like a web link circle, which would do it automatically. So you could just start
Interesting.
browsing through people's websites. This is basically like what happened right before MySpace.
Yeah.
You sort of
Okay.
randomly go through someone's network of websites, but it was all independent people that were just
Yeah.
each other. And yeah, thumbnails were involved. So we would make free pages, like trial pages,
Mm-hmm.
and share them with each other. So I
That's
would give
cool.
Seska like, a photo set from nofo.com, and she would put it on her website. And I think what I had was like a banner page. So I would like link out to everybody's banners.
Yes, the banner page. Yes.
A banner
Mm-hmm.
page. So you would just have like a full page of banners, like 50 of them.
Wow, that's so interesting. Yeah.
We did not have Twitter. We didn't have any of this stuff. No Instagram, no Tumblr, nothing. No PayPal. How did we make money?
I mean, money orders. I was writing about it. People did not.
Really?
I was writing about trust in porn and how do you build trust with a clientele that you're going to deliver what you're going to deliver, and but also like how do you trust my billing system? Now, back then, people would sign up to your membership site and the CC bills, but it was Epic and there was a number of them. I got screwed over by Glowbill.
I did too.
Took all of my money.
Oh my God.
1,000 members. Bye-bye. Overnight.
I think this was like our first shared trauma was like, what happened to Glowbill? Glowbill disappeared.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Oh my God.
I couldn't remember the name of which company, but I think it was like, yeah.
That's the one it was. I switched to Veritel and I've been with them ever since.
That's where I was just like, oh, what am I going to do now? But if I decide to do, that, I was like, do I go there? But now I have a different plan. Figure it out. But yeah,
Visa has been shutting down high risk payment processors basically ever since 2000. Like, it's never not been a struggle, which I think is why sometimes I maybe like feel jaded. I'm like, oh, another initiative.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just have to remember, like, sex work, you can't actually erase sex work off the face of the planet. So I just try and have faith that there will always be a way to sell my porn, no matter how hard they try to take it away from me.
Right. Like, where's the demand going to go?
The corner. I'll just stand in the corner. Do you want some porn?
You just stand there. You just stand there with your Polaroid camera between your legs going, yep, there you go, honey.
It's a quarter. Here.
I don't think I have the personality for it, but I did like when I would talk with old timers who would work the bars for escorting. And like,
I can't imagine doing that. I don't have the personality for it either.
I'm
not outgoing enough. I'm too much of a wallflower. I just wouldn't make any money doing that.
I wonder if I get the right clientele, because the way I used to hook up just for fun is kind of like, well, mostly I'd like going up to couples and going, I want to have sex with him. And
that's way more my style too.
Do you want to do it?
I'm just not that attracted to cis men at all. So I really like going to the bar in the first place is not going to happen.
But I just like, do you want to have sex? Let's do this. Like, do you want to do it?
Right.
Okay. Yeah. I'm not a very good flirt. And especially now that I'm sober, I'm like, I have no game.
I also have to say that sobriety has taken a lot of that like hustle out of me. And some people are really good at it sober too. Like, I mean, it is a really hard skill. And yeah, I really admire people who can do the hustle. I learned very on, like when I was working at the Lusty Lady and the Peep Show, that like I could pretty much do everything until it came down to like walking up to a man and asking him if he wanted a lap dance. And that's where I freeze.
Wait, but did they do that at the Lusty Lady?
No, it was a Peep Show. So you were behind glass and you were fully naked.
That's what I mean. That's why. Oh, so that's why it worked for you. Okay.
So so I can I can have like my cervix up in front of someone's face, like no problem, like naked, fully fucking squirting, shitting, whatever, puking. I can do that easy. But to walk up to a man in a bar and say like, can I sit on your lap if you have $100? Now it's coming out of my mouth. It seems easy. And then I'm in this situation and I'm just like, I don't know. I'm going to go make some porn. I'm going to go shoot some clips and then try to sell them the clips. So yeah, I have a lot of respect for folks who don't stop there, because I do stop there.
Yeah, that's why I never stripped. Yeah, I never worked strip clubs because of that. Though I have done those sort of novelty queer strip club nights that like community organizational hold that are like more
like safer queer burlesque nights. I've done that too, for sure. And
that one I've done
go dancing and burlesque and all that stuff. It's something about like maybe being fat or something and short. Like I'm 5 foot tall, so like for some reason I'm like, why would that guy want a lap dance from me? That's always been that's the thing. It's like a self-esteem thing.
Yeah.
I think about it like at queer strip nights, I actually do give lap dances. That's never been an issue.
I think that the problem for me is like the way that my sexuality works is like I very much want to be like pursued, and I'm kind of like a pillow princess. So like being like aggressive or seducing somebody like doesn't really do it for me. I like want them to come to me.
Yeah.
And so I just
that
can't
really works
like
for me too.
Yeah, I just like to be like I like somebody to like very actively want me. And so like the idea of me like hustling and trying to convince somebody to want me, like by the time I did that, I'd be like not into it anymore.
which is why they're like, call my line, darling. It's like so much like this is the job that we're comfortable with right now.
When I was in my teens, and I don't understand, because I was such a like wallflower nerd, but I also had this confidence that I don't know where I got it from. I can't figure it out, but I would go up, ask a guy to dance. He'd say no. And I just go, okay, he's not into me. That has nothing to do with me. Like he's not into me. Of course I had my heart broken and like had crushes, of course.
Right.
But I just kind of moved on. And I think that's sort of the way I feel about porn. And even though like, my gosh, I look at the pictures of myself when I'm 27 and I can't believe that like people thought I was the bigger girl, which is hilarious because I'm like 130 pounds in those pictures.
Yeah.
Like there were some issues within the amateur porn world. It was like in among the women, it was all pretty chill. But like sometimes the husbands would get a little bit, and the webmasters around us, they would like, you need boobs, you need this, you're too big, you're too.
I can vouch for that too. I mean, that's the reason why I started off with NoFo, is because the male perpetrators, the male owners of Suicide Girls were all about skinny girls with big boobs.
Yeah.
And after, being told that they were like this empowering, female forward alt porn site that was like starting a revolution, I was just really like almost ashamed of like being from like this is the porn of the subculture.
Yeah.
Where everything has to be big titty, skinny, straight. Well, no, bisexual, but single girls.
Yeah.
It's just none of it made any sense to me. Do you feel the same way, Seska, like about like the early alt porn movement?
Yeah, I didn't find like I would see it and I was attracted to it, but I wasn't.
I guess it was alongside the amateur movement.
Yeah, it was. We'd look at and then we'd go, oh, but they were also quite young. The people who were doing
and tattooed.
And the swingers, we were all 30 and like between probably 28 to 40.
Gotcha.
So we were kind of going, oh, who are these young? But one thing that was really good very early on, being so close to Carol Cox. Carol Cox is 4'11", extremely sexual person, but also a big goofball. And so she doesn't do the talking. She just has the sex. So
I want to meet this woman.
She just laughed. We just laughed the whole time. The camera would go on, and then all of a sudden, like, oh, things are in her butt, and wow, okay, all sorts of stuff's going on. But she's a very ordinary housewife, and so the young women would come in and go, "I'm going to take over Carol Cox's thing," and I'm like, no. You don't take over from Carol Cox. Because people love this ordinary woman doing these wild things. And she was 10 years older than me. So she was 38 when I met her. And she had her third kid. And so she was like, I'm just like, no, like just be the best you, find your thing. And so my thing was like the brunette among all the blondes. There were a lot of blondes at the time. And I kept a bit of pubic hair. No, and so people could find me in the group scene. That's what they would say. I keep your triangle. We can find you in the orgies.
Oh, fascinating.
So
Thanks for joining us today. Jessie and I are dedicated to platforming sex worker voices and covering important political issues for those in the sex trades. But we can't do it without your help.
If you believe in our mission, find us at patreon.com/peepshowpodcast and show us some love.
We're also seeking advertisers to help us grow. Thanks for helping us make Peep Show happen.
that's, we didn't even have niches then. It was just kind of like, figure out who you are.
Yeah,
and what you like to do.
Porn on the internet in 1999 was not like as niched out as it is now. That's for sure.
No, I was talking with someone. It was like, I was a girl next door. It goes, that means nothing now. I'm like, okay,
that's nothing. Yeah.
That means nothing.
You had that like smart, seductive, like indie porn vibe to you as well, though. Sort of like the proto Sasha Grey.
I like talking about sex probably more than I like having sex.
Yeah,
I love the psychology of it. I love.
Yeah, I mean, I like having sex, but I really like talking about sex.
I feel like the more I think about it and the more I have it, the more I don't understand it. Like, wait, we're like obsessed with like our nerve endings, rubbing our nerve endings together. That's
well, when you put it like
and then we
like
watching
it to do.
It does. It is. I am coming out right now as completely confounded by sex. That's why I keep having it.
And I believe, Jessie, you watch Star Trek, right?
I have just started watching Star Trek. Started.
There's an episode, and I'm trying to remember, but like this, species comes over to the Enterprise. This is Next Generation, and they do certain things in private that we don't do in private, humans and whatever is in the Federation. So they want to watch people eat, and they're having this big like taboo experience, but they're allowed because they're the ambassador of whatever planet. I've never.
I saw this one. Yeah, I saw this one. Yeah,
and we want to see we no longer live in small groups, right? We don't know everybody's business, and we want to.
Yeah,
and sex is and as we learn, yes, there's a lot of like unusual things, but there's a lot of also quite simple. A goes into B, sit on C, whatever. There's not too much as well.
Yeah, I don't know that I think about sex like that, though, because I was thinking about what Courtney was saying, and I don't know that, like, when I like to talk and I like to think about sex, it's very rarely, like, mechanical like that. Like, I think I'm much more interested in, like, why people want what they want, and particularly when those get wrapped up in, like, storytelling or fantasies or relationship dynamics. And it's funny because, I wrote a sex column for a long time. And I remember an editor saying to me, because I think that they thought I was somewhat like abstract. And she was like, well, why don't you just talk about this thing? And I'd be like, what am I going to say about that? It's just like a position. Like you just do it or you don't do it. Like I want to talk about something else, And so I think that, I don't know. I think there's different ways I think that people like relate to it too.
Well, that was where my experience with escorting, I found I got it was very functional. I had some people who brought fantasies to their experiences, but I remember them, but I would say the majority of people They just wanted like a particular act, and it was fairly vanilla. The people that seemed to be interested in me, which was fine because it was just, it didn't require too much from me to manage an appointment that was, let's do it in front of a mirror. Okay. You know?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And even the people who wanted, like, who would hire two of us who are really femme, they didn't even want a threesome. They wanted sex with two women.
Right.
They wanted, sex with one, then switch.
Right. Okay. I was like thinking in my head, wait, what's a threesome with only two women? That's not a threesome. But now I'm with you.
Whereas in porn work, you want to make it the most creative, wild, random, interesting, fascinating looking threesome you've ever had. So you're like hanging from the ceiling and like calling your coworker mommy and like
and it's sweaty. There's some very good memories of because I love, if I were to say, like, in terms of sexual configurations, I love threesomes. I love
group sex. I feel like couple. I am. Oh yeah. I mean, yes.
I want to be the guest star.
I love threesomes too.
Yeah, like, literally, like the bisexual unicorn. Like, bring me in, let me feed off your love,
and then let me leave.
Yeah,
and then let me go, and then let me go, and then you guys can fight about the coffee later.
I actually love having people in my relationship. But I like to watch. Like I remember in a lot of threesomes that I was in, like PJ would be like, "Don't you want to come and do this?" I'm like, "No, I'm cool. Like you guys just like go at it." I want to see this. But I also like being a guest star sometimes. That's also fun.
Yeah, I'm so committed now to being single that I can appreciate you saying that. But I can't imagine myself having a partner but I would love that, like if I was in a partnership, I'd like seeing your partner be with someone else. Whoo!
I think I like that, like, I'm so attracted to him, but I can't see what it's like to have sex with him when it's with me. Like,
right, you get to have an out-of-body experience almost.
Yeah, and I like to watch him have sex with other women because then I'm like, oh, I can totally, like, I have this, like, empathetic, like, response to the woman, and if she's enjoying it, I'm like, oh my God, like, that's how I feel. I think that I feel, like, very, I don't know, there's something super, like, validating, but also, like, very sexy about the whole thing, and I feel like I get to know what it's like to be me. I don't know if that makes any sense at all.
It does. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, like, psychology talk about that we look at other people to see ourselves.
Yeah.
And like attraction and arousal is about having a mirror. And we're kind of obsessed with ourselves.
Sometimes I have flashbacks of what I look like in porn. I'm going to like lower my voice. Sometimes I have flashbacks of myself in porno, like when I'm having non-porn sex. And I'll be like, oh yeah, like I remember this one time when my leg was up this one time, and then I'll actually visualize it and like kind of have like a throwback. So in like a lot of ways, I think like the porn scenes that I've done, I like sometimes I refer to them in my real life sex, and particularly be like, am I making, is this a porn noise I'm making, or is this like an authentic noise I'm making? And then when I'm in a porn, I'm like, is this a porn noise I'm making, or is this my real noise? And then I do think it's all blurred together at this point because I've realized that like I could give a fuck what I look like on camera anymore. Entirely. Like obviously I do care very much, but once I'm on camera having sex with somebody else, all bets are off.
Yeah.
Hair, face, makeup, it was all meant to be destroyed as far as I'm concerned. So it's the destruction. Destruction is the name of the game when I get on camera. It's like
I'm so curious because I haven't had any porn sex with other people in a year because it's been pandemic.
I know.
So people have been who were fans of my old content are noticing I have a different embodiment of my sexuality, which we all better fucking have, right? After 20 years, you're going to be a little different.
Seska, I want to hear all about this.
So I'm growlier. I don't care what my face is doing now. I don't know that I cared then, but I think I was more reserved.
Yeah. I get that.
There was something a little bit like I didn't want to be made fun of.
Yeah.
There was a lot of people watching on those sets, and they were a lot of assholes.
Right.
You know, even though we were in these amateur porn worlds, there's always a jerk. There's someone who's a jerk who's going to go. I mean, they always talked about like my butt pimples, and I'm like, oh, like, who talks about someone's butt pimples when they're not in the room?
Right. Yeah.
Well, come over and pop them if you care so much.
Yeah. Well, actually, just give me a nice mask, the charcoal mask. I was obsessed with that. I love a good butt mask.
It's aspiration.
But now I'm just like, I was worried because when I retired, HD was becoming a thing. And people were like going, oh my gosh, I can't shave close enough for HD. Like,
right.
It's all black, little black dots everywhere. And so I was concerned. You know, I was like, ooh, I'm going to have to be like thinking about my pores. Who wants to think about their pores?
It did kind of shake up who was famous and who wasn't famous. I won't name names, but I definitely noticed a switch. But HD did kind of change everything. But I think people really liked. So some companies went full 4K like right away, with all of that like incredibly like up close skin detail. And some people just really pulled back and like have done more cinematic stuff. Like I think there's been a real like rebellion against like the 4K.
Fascinating.
It's way too realistic.
It's too much. I'm not into it.
It's way too realistic.
Even just to watch television, I feel like it's too much.
Now VR sounds kind of interesting.
Do they always come up to you? There, everyone who I do know in the business, do you want to do VR? I'm like, no, I don't.
I would love to do VR.
I'm in my room with my mom in the other room. And how am I going to shoot this? What are you talking about? Like, let me just work with my ring light. Okay, I don't know what I'm doing. It just feels like it's like too much of a learning curve for me at this moment.
Okay, so just to go back to the original topic, you have a lot of fans who've been your fans from before and now.
Yes.
What has that experience been like?
It's actually quite charming. It's been very charming. Like it's just made me feel, because there was a point where I was still online, because I've always been in social media as Seska. I've never been as any other name other than like when I was escorting. But then I was like just really not sharing anything personal. You know, it was like, I'm in this town. But all of my social media has been as Seska. So when I have been putting up on Instagram when it was just about my gray hair, or before that, you know, moving, or, you know, here are the boxes and stuff, people would get really still like horny over me. And I didn't like that, because I was just kind of like, I'm just talked about something like serious, and all you can talk about is what I used to do. And like, can't you catch up with me? So in a way, I think I wouldn't be surprised if one part of the reason why I came back was you can't beat them, join them. But I think it was a very, very minor part. I do think I'm like doing this for my own reasons. But there is something to be said. Now I can have those conversations, and it feels like we're on the same playing field, you know, me and the fan. So we can talk about, oh, I love that photo. Oh, I love finding out when they discovered me. And so some people, what's interesting is like, oh, you were 16. Okay. Oh, now you're 44. You know, like now
that's happened to me too with little baby dykes. I'm like, yes.
So, but the idea of someone who's 16 looking at me right now, I'm like, no. I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to hear about it. It's too young for me. Regardless, I know there's like age of consent is different in different places, but like I was just like,
for me, I just think about it like, oh, you know, like my favorite band when I was 16, my favorite porn star when I was 16. Like, you know, they have them. I just don't want to hear about it.
Well, they do say things of like, you really formed my, my ideas about sex or this and that, and I'm just like, I hope I did a good job. Oh
no.
And they say yes, and some people, other people who are a little bit older will give. I've gotten some beautiful feedback of like, your scenes I can show to a lover and show how there's really great chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
I made my therapist cry when I read one of them. She was so pleased, that I had such that this cis man brought to his cis woman partner porn, and it brought them closer together. Like you just, it's what a therapist wants to hear, right?
Yeah.
I've had those kinds of experiences, and there've been some nice, quite loyal, following, and it felt good because I sometimes thought I was forgotten. And
right.
like, what was the point? I was having a bit of what was the point of this bizarre sacrifice to porn media?
Right. Mm-hmm.
I never forgot you.
I never forgot you. When I heard you speak at one of the feminist porn conferences, and you gave a keynote, and I was like,
yeah.
And I remember I had to leave, like it was a stuffy room, and there was like it was awkward.
I didn't want to be in that room either.
But it was such a good presentation, and I was like, yes. It was like a call to arms,
Yeah, it really was. It really pissed a lot of people off that day. And I also made a lot of people really happy.
What did you talk about?
I said that feminist porn was a largely like sort of racist and classist institution, and that we needed to be as critical of ourselves as we are as other people.
Yes. Yeah.
But I was young, and so it took me 50 minutes to say that. And I remember the person asking me to do it was very mad at me because she had been called out for saying something super racist the week before. And I was like, listen, I'm not trying to criticize you. I'm just saying, like, you asked me to be a keynote, and I'm going to say what needs to be said because this is what people are asking me to say.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And like, I don't want to be a farce. Like,
right.
do you?
I
think, like obviously no names named because like all's well that ends well, and like everything got figured out, and like that was like not the most positive experience for me in the time that I did it, but like it's just like it's not easy doing a call to arms or a manifesto because some people aren't going to agree with you, but the people that it resounded, like the people that it resonated with are like the people who have like gone on and like changed porn for the better. Like, like Toby Meyer was there and she filmed it and like meant a lot to her. And like a lot of younger performers have like seen it on YouTube, like even to this day. And like, it means a lot to them. And like somebody made like memes about it on Tumblr. I thought that was really, really sweet. That was like, it was like taking quotes from it, like, find loopholes to make the kind of porn that you want to make in like an institution that doesn't allow for it, or to like cast a trans woman in a movie that's not about trans people. Just like really simple ideas for like things you could do to make porn that would like blow someone's mind away. And so like a lot of really cool things happened from it. But I'm Seska. I didn't even know you were there.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I think I was just blogging about sex at that point.
Yeah,
like
you
porn
were.
And like I was just trying to keep, trying to make a little, keep the money going because I'm still getting I still had some active members even though I wasn't making anything new. I tried this, we haven't talked about, and I don't know how much I've talked about it, but I tried to make porn after my divorce and I couldn't. I did it and I hated it.
Why? What happened?
I was so used to like things ended badly between me and my husband, but when I trusted him within the making porn. Yeah. I felt, and I don't mean just like physical safety, but like I felt that he would just capture, like we had the same vision for the porn site. And so he would get those angles, and he was always quite, he had quite a strong sense of humor. So he would just also make but he was really intense person, very intense. A lot of people did not, like other couples did not like him because he was just like there was one time we were shooting something and then the guy, they had been begging us all like internets to shoot. And they finally, were shooting with them. And he's like, oh no, we don't come. He doesn't come on camera. And I was like, what? Like, you know who we are. Like we end with a facial. And it was very stressful. But they were being very, they didn't last long, this couple in the porn business, because you don't shoot a big blowjob scene and then go, ta-da! You know, like there has to be something, or if there isn't something, then you have to make that something, right? Like you have to say why you're not.
This is where like straight porn has limitations that I'm just like, wait, what?
I know, me too. I'm like, why? Why does there have to be something?
Porn, it's safe to say that porn has changed.
Yeah. So anyway, just shooting,
very frustrating.
Yeah, I shot with some other people, and they were actually like, everyone was pleasant, but I did not feel sexy. I felt it was awkward.
Mm-hmm.
And now I know, like, I just need to be collaborating. It needs to be so with some discussion and some, you know, what are we trying to do here? Like, how do you like to have sex?
Right. Yeah.
Do you enjoy making it like in solitary, like in this pandemic structure?
I'm starting to hit a wall.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit.
Yeah.
I have had some pretty, like, I've had some firsts. So I've had like my first like G-spot orgasms and squirts on camera ever.
Oh, cool.
That's huge.
That was really fun. Not sure if I filmed them very well, but that's, you know, camera.
Yeah.
But it's amateur, but it's like, it's so real. Like when I watch it back, like there's no artifice. There's just like genuine, like delight and surprise and like, whoa, look what I did. And I'm feeling like dirty about it too, like in all the best ways. So that's really nice. I miss human contact.
Yeah.
And I really want to shoot with people who have had experiences on camera, who understand what's going on.
Mm-hmm. That's why I like try to push for customs. I really like doing customs because even if I'm working alone, it feels more collaborative to be like trying to create something for somebody. And because if I just have to make like clip after clip out of my own, like I run out of things to do. And I like these sort of kind of elaborate stories that custom customers come up with.
Have you done customs, Seska?
Not much. I have one very, very loyal custom customer with very, very long videos but it's mostly me talking.
Yeah, nice. That's what a lot of them are.
That's why I ended up having to charge a lot for my customs is because, you want me to do script work?
Yeah.
Okay, that's going to be like $200 at least.
I charge him quite a lot. Also, his stuff is not something that I can sell because it is so long and it's just me talking. I also, because I know this person, I used to see him as a escort client. So I feel a little bit protective of his fantasies because I really know him.
Yeah.
Right. And now that I've spoken about him, I feel like it's even more so. I just, like when if he had an exhibitionist moment that he wanted me to share them, then I would. But he pays me very, very well for those videos. But I do tell him, I'm like 45 minutes of me talking about the topic it's a lot.
It's a lot.
And
definitely.
I don't do scripted stuff. I won't do that. But what I will do is if somebody says, okay, I want you to be a therapist and I want you to talk to me about blah, 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 then I'll just impromptu the whole thing. And if they say like, I want you to make sure that it includes these 3 things, then I'll do those 3 things, but never like a script because that even feels less collaborative to me. Then I'm just like a puppet. But if they're like, I have a fantasy about a therapist and the therapist like makes me I'm just thinking of a recent one I did. The therapist makes me worship her ass. I'm like, okay, I can do that. Like, then I'll create like a story around that. And that's fun for me.
I haven't really marketed myself for doing those things. And I feel like if it was like a talk, like a short one, like a 15-minute
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
talk about this thing, show off, maybe do this or that, but what I need to do is like film a whole bunch of not fake ones, but like that.
Yeah.
Samples. And then people will know that I can do these, because I do love like the dirty talk. I do like the dirty talk and the fun,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Ooh, this turns you on. Okay, let me do this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that too.
After doing phone sex for so long, I am a little bit burnt out on that, but I do remember loving it very deeply.
Mm-hmm,
My
mm-hmm.
customs these days is that I have a customer who wants to see my mouth and like lipstick. So I'll do a video of like putting on lipstick and like smoking a joint, right? Like blowing smoke in the camera and be like, oh, I'm going to get you stoned. And that's probably all I'll say. And then I'll just like spit all over myself. This sounds really, really disgusting, but I'm really into it. I'm really into it. And this person has been, a member and a tipper and a custom buyer and a gift wish list gifter for so long that I'm just like, yes, I love this.
Yeah,
Yes,
totally. I get that.
spit,
Yeah.
red lipstick and spit and like blowing smoke in your face. And I've got to the point where I'm like, I'm not going to talk you through it. You're going to have to do that work on your own.
You've got the visual.
Because at that point, I start feeling like I'm going back to like my phone sex days, which I'm just like, I feel like I graduated.
I like the verbal stuff. I like talking, but I like phone sex. So that's still my favorite thing that
I'm
do.
getting into it more, but part of me thinks that I mostly just got into porn is because I'm a show off. But yeah, like I'm talking and public speaking totally terrifies me, as we've discovered. But for some reason, spreading my legs and fucking and squirting and like accidentally shitting on someone's bed doesn't bother me. Like, that's how I want to tell you about my life. This is what I have to say.
I'm not an exhibitionist.
I don't even know if it's about exhibitionism. Do you think?
Yeah.
I'm drawn to the obscene, and I'd rather say that with my body than like.
Yeah. I get that.
Maybe it's like the death of the artist type of thing. Like words feel so finite and concrete. Whereas like if I'm using my body to say stuff or just like be obscene, and like write a poem like with my bodily fluids, like it feels like there's more room for people to like enter me, enter it.
I get that. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Like it's more interpretive on the part of the viewer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
This goes back to are you a museum?
Yeah. Full circle.
I don't know, like I have a guilt or is it shame? I don't even think it's
a
shame.
Penchant?
Where I'm like, why do I think like I want to document my life and I think but I know that someone will get something from it. And what that is, I don't know, but I know people that I'm not alone in this world and some people want to see like what I do. And I do, this is where my ego comes in. I am brave enough to do this and to challenge the comfort of my life because it's been.
And you're confident enough to know that even 3 people giving you that kind of goddess attention is going to do you well.
Yeah. And I like to explain myself. I love explaining myself. Like, this is why I'm touching my breast. This is why it feels good. So that's where I get very talkative in my videos. Even though they're not customs, I talk my way through my pleasure till I can't talk anymore, and then people enjoy that as well. Yeah, I just want to show. And now that I'm turning 50, it's just like, what is this body that's supposed to not be sexual, or it's only supposed to be sexual in a cougar way? Like, what does it mean? And I don't understand. Like, I'm discovering it, and I'm finding ways to do that. And I think it's really important that we see older people.
Absolutely. So much porn is younger bodies, and like the bodies change over time in good ways too. A lot of people don't figure out how to squirt until their 30s or 40s. A lot of I haven't really like delved into like anal sex that much as a bottom. there's still so many things that like it takes a while to really like conquer. And so I think the sexuality of people all through their lives is very important to see in porn.
Yeah, I think so too.
And without the stigma, because like I'm never going to be able to be, I skipped MILF, like, skip all of that. Like, just get rid of all of it.
Right.
Well, the MILF doesn't mean much anymore. It seems so. It's such a broad stroke.
Yeah.
Right. It's like anyone that looks like they're not 22.
And from my understanding, it's mostly girls with like very like easily perceived like breast implants, like the soccer mom type.
Yeah.
Like the LA soccer mom type, but with like kind of fake booty, like porno titties. Porno titties.
Well, they have to have like a skinny body so that the boobs look like they're sitting like on top of their body.
Not just implants, because like a lot of people have implants, but then there's like the MILF titties that are just like astronomical anime boobs.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. I've watched too much Pornhub probably. For research.
Yeah. I was going in there too. I was doing my research. I was clicking and I realized I hadn't clicked what I like. I was like, what do I like?
Oh, right. Oh, you kind of do this all the time. I'll poke around Pornhub and I'll be like, actually, I haven't looked at anything that's interesting to me at all this time. Yeah. I'm just sort of in like, what's this genre? What's that genre?
Yeah. So, Seska, what do you have planned for yourself? Like once, or what do you want to do once COVID's over?
So there's one like big kind of work project because I've been trying to figure out how to make money because it's been really up and down. And to be, but luckily I'm in sort of, I can experiment with it. But with all of the limitations on the fan sites with having to upload everyone's ID.
Yeah.
Which is really going more and more that way. I have IDs, but they're in all sorts of like old paper versions.
Yeah.
For my old content. So one, I don't feel comfortable for someone who's retired to reactivate their career and then give any of the personal information to anyone, even if like there's certain sites who I do think have good security or, I really don't know it. So what I've decided, my site has always been within a particular network with a friend and who's just kept going in the business and he's behind the scenes. So my site has been there all along with the paperwork in his like filing cabinet. So I was like, I just need to focus on that. So that's like, it's my VIP section. And eventually by March, we're going to rebuild my tour. So it will have my new content. So it's still amateur and it's still me, but I will be working with this company too. He's being really generous because he's known me for so long. So they're building the site for me. So I wouldn't know how to put up an HD video with a thing in there that would resize,
Right. Yeah.
Let me just learn
You will soon, but this is good.
I want to.
I'm so happy for you. This is great.
I want to just have fun.
I think we should bring back the Friends page.
I think so too. But I want like the Friends page. I like the Friends page of like, I met Courtney when, and then Courtney, this picture is my favorite picture of Courtney.
We should do that. We should do that.
I don't know this person, but.
Right. Okay. Oh, you could do that as part of your blog. Like you could do.
I think so. I think we could do that. I think we I think we kind of do it with these, like the retweets just feel like soulless versions of that.
Totally. I'm also, I would love to do a virtual scene with you. And then
I know.
When we're all vaccinated and like you're East Coast, I'm West Coast, but I would absolutely love to perform with you in person someday or produce you with someone else. Cause like
there's a giggle component.
Absolutely. Well, should we do a tickle scene?
Maybe. It's just I feel like I would have that giggle nerves,
Right.
See,
we'll capture it all from the moment we meet.
Ooh. Oh, that was my first introduction to porn that I liked, which was things where they just fall like the gonzo size of like just following people having sex.
Yeah, I like that too.
On vacation.
I like that too. I have a hard time with like the fake storylines of like, this is why we're fucking. And sometimes I'm just like, it's fine. You don't have to tell me why.
That was burlesque.
You really don't need to tell me why, actually.
Burlesque was that way at one point where we always like would go, why are we what's our motivation for taking off our clothes?
What's the story?
Are we being like blackmailed? Okay. And then it was like, just take it off.
Is there anywhere where we can see your burlesque online? Do we have to go to your website?
It's like vaguely in places on YouTube. It's not very good. It's not the best, quality footage. These are real like bars where So if you do kind of Google Cecily burlesque, you'll find something. You'll also find like some team sports doing some sort of gymnastics or something as well, which has nothing to do with it. Great. There's like some weird stuff that I don't know what YouTube is doing.
Does anybody know what YouTube is doing?
So where can people find you, Seska?
Seska.com is my home. It's been my home for...
Yay.
Yeah, so that's really where to go. And then from there you can figure out, but I'm pretty active on Twitter. I like Twitter.
And people can like sign up and like talk to you through Seska.com.
Well, okay, so right now it's not really good communication there. It's just I don't have the comments on and stuff like that. But you can, my DMs are open on Twitter, and as long as you're just, you're a cool person, I will answer you.
Well, all of our listeners for After Dark and for Peep Show podcast are very cool listeners.
Yes.
And I am sure that they're going to want to sign up to see your stuff. And maybe get a custom. Who knows?
Yeah, we maybe could start that for you.
Oh, this was so much fun.
Thank you for joining us for yet another episode of the Peep Show podcast. I'm PJ Sage, and you can find me on Twitter at PeachSage.
And I'm Jessie Sage, and you can find me on Twitter at sapiotextual or at jessiesage.com.
We would like to remind you that we have a Patreon account and would appreciate your support. Please visit patreon.com/peepshowpodcast. Our music is courtesy of Joe Kennedy. The show was produced by Jessie and PJ Sage.
Signing off. Have a great week.